This podcast is sponsored by Active Skin Repair, a skin health company helping people heal with natural, non-toxic medical grade ingredients. Honestly, it's only the one first aid supply we have right now because Active Skin Repair can be used to treat a wide range of skin issues, including cuts and scrapes and burns and sunburn, which is huge here in Arizona, rashes and other types of skin damage. It's also safe and non-toxic, making it suitable for use on all skin types. I use it on my son's mosquito bites all the time. And it can even be used on rosacea and eczema and acne-prone skin.
Yeah, it's crazy. And seriously, with over 500,000 happy customers and thousands of 5-star reviews and ingredients that are safe and clean and can be used from your youngest member of your household all the way up to your oldest, everybody has one simple solution for all of your family's skincare needs.
So go visit www.activeskinrepair.com to learn more about Active Skin Repair and get 20% off your order. Use code NOGUILT. That's activeskinrepair.com to get 20% off your order. Use the code NOGUILT. We used this for 5 years with my daughter until she was 13 years old and eligible for her own bank account at a real bank, like Wells Fargo. She has her own ATM card, everything. But my son still uses his because he's not old enough for it. And so when you set up this bank account, it automatically gives you an out on these situations. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by the lovely Bree Hooker.
Why, hello, everybody. How are you?
This podcast episode was inspired by a coaching session that I recently had with a client. And I think that we can all identify with this situation because you are asked repeatedly for everything, buying everything. I mean, Bree, you have something very
Well, when you brought this episode up, my mind immediately went to this.
Mom, mommy, mama,
Yep.
It's exactly like that. Yeah. And Lois is sitting there on the bed, not moving.
Yep.
Mom.
She's like, I can't.
Mom.
No.
Mommy.
Mommy.
Nope.
Even this
Mama.
brings back PTSD
Mama.
memories for
Mama.
me, and I feel so bad for this.
Hi.
Hi.
See?
Exactly. I mean, you just get to your last nerve. You're asked for all of the things, and it's like this nonstop barrage of questions. Because all of these thoughts appear too in your head when you're being asked these questions. First of all, shouldn't my child know better? Are they manipulating me or are they doing it on purpose? They're just trying to get what they want. I should have been a better mom and raised them better. I must have done something wrong, else they wouldn't be doing this. All those things.
Yeah, you convince yourself that your child has a much more elaborate executive functioning than they actually do. And I mean, we're talking about how this came up in coaching is with I believe an elementary to middle school aged kiddo. But I mean,
it was preteen, 11, 13 years old.
But I would see this exact same thought process in parents for a 1-year-old. We all believe that we are raising a Stewie or a Megamind, evil mastermind in the background somehow, that they have figured out how to emotionally manipulate people. And the truth of the matter is, most of the time, we are wrong. So
we are, but we're going to get
things.
into that today.
Yeah.
So if you have had that same thought process, we're going to dismantle it today. We're going to give you some really, really great tidbits that you can take back to your own parenting. So now let's get on with the show.
You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast.
So I like how you bring up that we're raising a Stewie or a Megamind, because that is most often when we have women in balance talking about a kid behavior. A lot of the mom guilt comes from this fear that if we don't check this behavior right now, it is going to be a problem in the future.
Exactly. Exactly. And we're not going to say that there's absolutely no chance it'll become a problem in the future, but in order for things to line up just so for that to happen, you would have to not be doing a lot of things that you are probably doing. Like you would have to be pretty absent in your parenting in order for those things to happen. I'm just going to throw that
Oh,
out
yeah.
there right now. So,
But the fear exists nonetheless.
It
When
does.
we had Kyle and Sarah Wester on the podcast, they're from the Art of Raising Humans podcast. Kyle was talking about how freaked out he would get when Sarah wouldn't like immediately punish or discipline their kids for a behavior. He had going through his mind that, oh my gosh, they're going to turn out to be spoiled. They're going to turn out to be like all these things. And so he was very much acting on a fear instinct, which I think a lot of people do. So let's talk about this and talk about like these things that kids do, because I think it comes from a misunderstanding of exactly where the brain is in development when they're kids,
yes.
right? Would you say so?
I would say so, yes.
And this was like a wonderful example of this was a recent interview I heard with an expert. She's a clinical psychologist on narcissism. Her name's Ramani Durvasula. And she was talking about all of these indicators of narcissistic behavior. Things like only thinking about yourself, not caring about other people's feelings and emotions. And immediately you can hear that and you're like, oh my gosh, my kid's a narcissist. But she puts in the stipulation that only after the age of 25, if these symptoms exist, can they be considered narcissism. Because before that age,
They all are.
it's normal.
Because before that age, listen, they're all selfish, self-centered little buttheads. No, I'm joking. I love them.
Kind of, but you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. We still love them, but we can also admit that sometimes our kids can be little buttholes. It's the truth.
And there's reasoning behind that too, because when we think of the brain, we always talk about the frontal lobe, the area right behind your forehead, the area that is responsible for all your logic and your decision making. And that area doesn't fully form until they're 25 years old. And this has kind of been something that has been misconstrued, though. Like my dad used to tell me, oh, like you should never get married until you're 25 because that's when your cerebral cortex fully forms and you can make the best decisions. And of course, me being me, I got married at 24, but I made a great decision and I'm still married. We're almost 20 years married now.
I could see you being like, no, Dad, I'm going to do it my way. 25.
I'm going to do it my way. But it's true, though. And when the cerebral cortex isn't completely formed, other areas of the brain are likely to take over. In Dr. Lisa D'Amour's book, The Emotional Lives of Teenagers, she talks about how the brain matures from the bottom up. So like starting in teens, the first level of the brain to mature is that brain stem, which controls all of like your functions like breathing, your heart rate, all those things. And then the amygdala, which is that fear center where fight or flight operates. So if you think about it, you have this amygdala, which is like much more maturely formed, much more intense than your cerebral cortex, which is in charge of all your logical decision making. So when you see in like preteens and teens, this overactive like temper, this overactive fear response, this not like noticing your emotions or feelings nor caring about your emotions or feelings.
Ooh, that's the one that stings.
Yeah, that overactive amygdala has just overridden the frontal lobe, which has it's beaten it to a pulp. It's like the winner. It has its flag and it's running around and it's like, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Your frontal cortex looks like Rocky. It's all like, oh,
it's beaten up. It's black and blue. It tried. It really tried. But it gets better as they age because just like Rocky, when he trained in the gym, that cerebral cortex, that frontal lobe is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And so logic is going to make a difference with your child.
Right.
A common mistake I see parents make is that they try to explain all of their decisions about why kids can't have something to them. It'll be like, Mom, can I have ice cream? No, you can't have ice cream because, sugar is going to stimulate your hunger before dinner and it won't be a good thing for you. And so they try to explain all this stuff to a 10 and 11-year-old in the moment when all that 10 and 11-year-old wants is ice cream. And all that 10 and 11-year-old hears is wah, 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 like Charlie Brown, because they just can't process it yet. And because they've tried to explain all of it, you think, oh, my kid should know better and they shouldn't ask again. But the kid hasn't even taken in the information to begin with. And that kid has that overactive amygdala that overrides any sort of logic that would have existed anyways.
So just to be clear, are you saying that they shouldn't say it at all and they should just say because I said so?
Oh, that's a really good question,
Thank
actually.
you. Thank you.
Because I said so.
I mean, because you just said, like, here, I'm going to be your yeah, but. Yeah, but you just said, don't explain it. You just said, a mistake I see parents do is explain it. So then my brain would go to, well, then I should just say, no,
because I said so.
Because I said so, but that's not what we're saying.
No, that's not what we're saying. When I say don't explain it, what I mean is don't go into explicit detail about why you made the decision that you made. You can make it short and sweet. Like, Mom, can I have ice cream? No, it's too close to dinner. That's it.
Go.
But why? Why can't I have ice cream? You don't have to say anything else to explain it after that. You could just say, I've already answered that question.
Yeah.
Or, no, it's too close to dinner. And just repeat the same exact thing you said. Because any additional reasoning about why you have to do it isn't going to sink in, and it's just going to become really, really aggravating to you. I feel this as well as a parent because my kids will come up with a why and I'll immediately get this like jolt of fear and I'll be like, oh my God, I don't really have a good reason. What's my reason? Like, is not having dinner beforehand a good reason? I mean, they're going to have the dessert anyway. So like, why don't I just let them have it before dinner? And like, I start fighting with myself in my mind and I like start sweating almost. So like, as a mom, there's a huge physical reaction to this as well.
It's huge. And it makes us so upset, so worked up out of an imaginary conversation that hasn't even happened. So it can be a lot.
So we're going to go into some specific things that you can do right after this.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Moody Health. I have to tell you guys, if you are a woman over 40 like I am, and you have started dealing with some crazy stuff like hot flashes, night sweats, insomnia, brain fog, moodiness, vaginal dryness, weight gain, all of these things that you just are like, what the heck is happening to my body? I'm here to tell you, you don't have to accept it as another part of aging. All of these symptoms can actually be related to perimenopause and menopause. And yes, it can start in your 40s, but I have found a solution. Moody Health. Seriously, this place is amazing. You can have virtual visits. Their clinicians are experts in menopause. They understand the frustrations and they also have full range of care options for you. Schedule a virtual visit and you'll come out of the experience feeling heard and with a plan that will work for you. Book your appointment with Moody Health today. Visit joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com.
I am a water connoisseur and I cannot handle it when it doesn't taste good. I will like toss out water that I'm like, no, that's not good.
And that is why we feel like you guys have got to check out AquaTrue. AquaTrue purifiers use a 4-stage reverse osmosis purification process. And their countertop purifiers, they work with no installation or plumbing. I mean, that makes it work for even me. It removes 15 times more contaminants than your ordinary water pitcher filters and are specifically designed to combat chemicals in your water supply.
And they have water purifiers to fit every type of home, from installation-free countertop purifiers to higher capacity under the sink options. They even have a Wi-Fi connected purifier and mineral boost options. Yeah, it's really cool. So AquaTrue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and even makes a great gift. Today, our listeners, you receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. Just go to AquaTrue, that's AQUATRU.com, and enter code NGM at checkout. That's 20% off any AquaTrue water purifier when you go to AquaTrue.com and use promo code NGM.
So in our house, meal planning is a huge headache.
Mine too.
My husband and I like to eat more low carbs, kind of keto, but my daughter, well, you know her, she's a bit picky. HelloFresh has a new program called Build a Plate Meals. They are designed to let every member of your household create their perfect plate. So I have no more headaches trying to find a meal to accommodate everybody. I just find parts for everybody in the meal. And HelloFresh makes it so easy that everybody will enjoy what I'm making. And I am like so looking forward to trying out the Fiesta spiced chicken with avocado salsa and roasted sweet potatoes this week.
What I love is like HelloFresh's easy to follow recipes include pre-portioned ingredients.
And Green Chef and Every Plate, who you've heard us talk about before, they are now owned by HelloFresh. And now with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, I mean, seriously, there is something for everyone.
I have to mention, for a limited time, kids eat free. They eat free. So go to HelloFresh.com/NGM Kids to unlock this exclusive offer. 1 free kids meal per box for 2 months while your subscription is active. That's free kids meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/NGM Kids.
HelloFresh, it's America's #1 meal kit.
So I hate to be nagged, Brie. I hate to be asked things multiple times. It's like an assault on your nervous system.
I think most people feel like that. I think they do. And I think that I could speak for the majority of moms out there that are like, we have had a long day with a lot of crap going on. The last thing you want to do is start poking the bear. With
Oh,
the
yeah.
Mom,
And
can I
the
mom?
kids-
Mom, please, mom, can I mom? Mom,
And
Mom,
sometimes
can
it
I?
doesn't even
Mom,
help
Mom,
like that.
Mom,
Like it doesn't even happen like that.
did I just
Oh,
piss
tell
you
you to
off?
shut up. Shut up.
I was gonna say, you saw what I was trying to do. I'm like, did I just piss you off? Huh?
Shut up.
Is that annoying?
And I wouldn't tell my kid that, by the way. I would only tell Brie to shut up. I would probably leave the room if my kid was doing that and like shut a door.
Well, I was being an evil mastermind right there.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. I totally lost my train of thought now. I don't know.
I'm sorry about that. No, we were talking about how like they just keep asking and how that's an assault on your senses. There's
Oh, yeah.
so much going on, and it just can only take so much.
And they're so good at the bait and switch too. They will take something that you said in the past and like twist it so easily to make it apply to that particular specific situation.
Yeah.
Like they will find fallacies in your logic before. Be like, Mom, well, you said yes to dessert last week. So what makes this today different than last week? And I'm like,
How is it that they can come up with those facts so quickly, but they can't remember something that they've been studying in school for a month on a quiz?
Mhm.
But they
Mhm.
can or they can't remember where they put their shoes the night before, but they can remember when you said yes one time 6 weeks ago at 7:45 in the morning. Like,
I know.
and they are half asleep. They remember
They
it.
can cite that so easily.
They can cite their sources ridiculously.
Yeah, it brings up so much guilt as a parent. Because also, I don't know if you get this too, but my parents used to use the phrase, oh, we can't afford that. I know they could afford it, by the way, because I never asked for anything too big, but it was like, oh, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. And like money wasn't even talked about in the home. And I think the conversations around money have changed over the years, maybe, or maybe it's just my views of it, thinking that, you want to talk to your kids about money, what is actually something that you put a priority on versus like something that you don't put a priority on, because that's really all spending is. When my parents were saying, I can't afford that, It wasn't that they couldn't afford it. It was that they didn't prioritize it or think it was important.
Yeah.
I
well,
thought it was important.
I'll say that, like, in my household, yes, that statement gets used a decent amount because my daughter, like me, we both, when we get bored, want to go out and go do stuff. And
Hmm.
you know who doesn't like that? My checkbook. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, my stupid debit card and money I have doesn't understand that it needs to be endless. So I will sometimes say that, but you're right. It really does come down to whether or not it's a priority. And I will say that I'm not sure how we got to this position, but we did get to a position in my household that I'm sure you have in your household as well, because I know you so well, where if my kid comes to me with something that is more than her just saying, like, "Hey, can we eat out tonight?" And it's something like, "I really, really want these shoes," or "I really, really wanna go to Disneyland with my friends," something like that.
Mhm.
Where I know I don't have the money, like, just sitting right there easily to hand over, I would be like, "Okay, we don't have that, but let's come up with a way that we can come up with that together." And
And making that plan for it.
right, right. So, but you are right. Like, I immediately felt guilty when you said that, but then I'm like, you know what? But I think I say that to, like, let's go to Starbucks or Dutch Bros or BlackRock for the millionth time.
Yeah. But
Just
it also
'cause.
becomes a thing where, like, if you do have the money to afford it, like like, our money situation is much better than I had growing up. Much better. And a lot of times when my kids ask for something like DoorDash or something like that, it wouldn't break the bank, like, at
Mhm.
all. And, like, I look at that, but I'm like, I don't want them to have DoorDash all the time. Like, I
Yeah,
don't want
just
them to
because you
have this
can.
unhealthy food just because you
Yeah,
can doesn't mean, like, you should have it, or just because we do have the money doesn't mean you should have it. And I feel that's where you get into kind of trouble when you're like, we can't afford it, we don't have the money, is because when you
right.
do have the money, then it's like, where's the decision then?
Right. Because they'll be
So,
quick to say to you, like, yeah, I think we can afford this, mom. That's $5. Come on.
oh yeah, they will cite that source fast.
Right?
So
Ugh.
it comes into being able to really get them to experience what their priorities are and how to make those decisions versus, if I spend money on this now, is it worth it? And will I have this money later?
Yeah.
And so, what I did with my kids, which has worked so well, and we have the tools for you to do this with your kids as well, is to set them on a spending allowance. And what this allowance looked like in our house is they got $1 a week for every year of their age. So when my daughter was 8, she got $8 a week. When my son was 5, he got $5 a week. And I had it set up in a spreadsheet so that it automatically, I didn't have to add it each week. It automatically added in their allowance and it gave them interest for keeping that money in longer. And that interest was not any standard banking interest. We're talking about, like, high value savings account interest, like the interest you would kill for at any bank. This is what they get.
This was like,
Because
you gave them like a 401k match, right?
yes, it's like
Yeah.
4% interest compounded weekly. Like, that's what we're talking about here. It's some good stuff for keeping your money in the bank.
And and on top of that, I'm going to give a little bit of a teaser for you guys. The kids did not react the same way to it, I don't think, right?
What do you mean?
Because one kid still spent it and one kid saved it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My daughter would not touch that stuff. Like, she was like, American Girl doll, I'm saving up for that. Whereas
Yep.
my son's like, I got $1. What can I buy? So it's interesting seeing it's interesting seeing how both kids approach money, but it's also a really great tool because every time they have a purchase, the spreadsheet is accessible on my phone and my husband's phone. Whichever adult, like, helps them with the purchase, we just go into that spreadsheet, enter in the column how much it was for, and it gets deducted from their account. So we have this constant tally of their little bank account, we call it. We used this for 5 years with my daughter until she was 13 years old and eligible for her own bank account at like a real bank, like Wells
Mhm.
Fargo. She has her own ATM card, everything. So now she manages that money in it, which is wonderful. All we get are Zelle requests. Mom, I need some food. I'm still like, and she's like, "Can you Zelle me this?" I'm like, "Okay." But my son still uses his because he's not old enough for it.
Mhm.
And so when you set up this bank account, it automatically gives you an out on these situations. And I'm going to tell you how to use it right after this.
Why are so many dogs suffering with health issues? Actress Katherine Heigl, who's helped save over 16,000 dogs through her foundation, says she's seen more issues with dogs' joints and odors and health than ever before. And after doing a ton of research, she feels that there's one place we can look to support any dog's health, and that's their food.
So she decided to create something she could actually feel good about feeding her dogs. It's called Superfood Complete. Superfood Complete is made with over 30 of the healthiest ingredients on the planet, including several superfoods vital to your dog's health. Badlands Ranch also supports the Jason Deebus Heigl Foundation, which has helped rescue thousands of dogs and place them in loving homes. And oh my gosh, Brie, my dog Addie went nuts over this food. I like took it out of the bag and she's immediately like doing all her tricks. She's like, "You want me to spin? You want me to lay down? You want me? Just give it to me."
So go to badlandsranch.com/guilt and order right now, and you're going to get up to 50% off your regular priced order with a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you want your dog to experience all these incredible things, go to Badlands Ranch. That's BADLANDS ranch.com/guilt today.
If you're a parent, I invite you to join us at the Mindful Mama podcast, where it's all about becoming a less irritable, more joyful parent. With sometimes hilarious and always thought-provoking experts and friends, at Mindful Mama, we know that you cannot give what you do not have. And when you have calm and peace within, then you can give it to your children. I'm Hunter Clark Fields, and I can't wait to see you there. Listen in to the Mindful Mama podcast.
When it comes to raising kids, there's so much to consider. Things like, what do we feed them? When do we feed them? How do they sleep? What does it look like to raise kind kids? How does their nervous system work? How do I keep myself calm? What are my triggers? There's so much that comes into play, and we are distilling all of that information for you at Voices of Your Village podcast, where we bring experts in the field of early childhood and education and psychology and across the board so that you don't have to comb the internet for information. You get to show up and hang out and have shame-free, judgment-free conversations and insights into what it looks like to raise kind, empathetic, emotionally intelligent humans. I'm Alyssa Blask Campbell. I have a master's degree in early childhood education. I'm a mom of 2, and I am walking this journey right alongside you doing this work. Come hang out with me at Voices of Your Village, and we can dive into real conversations with actionable tips.
So here's what I want you to do. I want you to set up a bank account for your kid. We have one available to you. All of our Balance VIP members get our Easy Chores and Allowance system, which has this spreadsheet in it. And what you do is you just download a copy of the spreadsheet and you enter in what your kid's base allowance is, and it takes it from there. It is super cool. So you set up this allowance for them. And then when you get into a situation the next time where they're asking for something, instead of saying no, here's what you get to say. Sure, yeah, that looks awesome. How much do you have in your allowance? And automatically, it's less about you giving them permission and more about them having the funds and choosing to spend the funds on that item. And the first time this came into question was when we went to go see the musical Wicked with my daughter.
Okay.
And we were in the lobby at intermission. And, you know, they have like the big gift shop in the lobby with like Wicked sweatshirt and Wicked memorabilia and Wicked this and Wicked that. And she really loved this Wicked sweatshirt, which was like $68, which looking like, yeah, I'm like, oh.
You're so torn in those situations because they're so beautiful and they're a memory of the experience, but God, they're so expensive.
They're so expensive. It's like a concert t-shirt, honestly.
Yeah,
like
that's exactly where I'm.
like
yeah,
that.
you knew that's where I was coming from on this. Yeah.
Yeah, concerts. So at that moment, we were like, oh, yeah, that's a really awesome sweatshirt. How much do you have in your allowance? And she was taken aback. And she's like, oh, okay. And we look at her allowance and she had like maybe $50 in it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I don't have that much in my allowance. And then she looked back at the stand and she's like, that's a ridiculous price for a sweatshirt.
But you're like, I'm so proud of you right now, honey.
Automatically, like we
Yeah.
didn't have to tell her that. She realized because she saw what she had and she saw what she was earning. And she's like, whoa, I don't think that's worth it anymore.
Yeah.
Because it was no longer this nebulous amount of money that reappeared from like magic, the parents' bank account. It was something that accumulated in hers. And now she had to make the decisions on what she wanted to get. And that is the magic of having an allowance for your kids. And it takes away all the fights. And it's so like annoying now to my daughter because sometimes she'll go into Target and she'll like ask me for something. I'm like, yeah, cool. Like how much you have in your bank account? You should get it. And she's like, Mom, you don't need to ask me how much I have in my bank account. I know how much I have in my bank account. I want you to buy it for me. And I'm like, well
then.
that's a no.
Oh my God. Okay. So I get that too with like, okay, so my son never asks for anything. He is the penny pincher that if you tell him that he needs to buy something, he'll be like, nah, I don't want it that bad. But it's fine. It's fine. That boy
That's me.
That's
me.
Well,
I have
that
a hard
boy
time
has a
spending money.
5-figure savings account. We'll just say that. He's still in high school.
Mm.
So he doesn't spend anything. But my daughter, who, our daughters have been friends for many years, like same attitude as what you're going through with yours. She'll be like, yeah, Mom, I don't want to buy it myself. Come on, let's go get Black Rock. They have that coffee you like this month. Can we go, Mom? Let's go. Or Cinnaholic.
No.
Let's go get Cinnaholic. That's her favorite cinnamon roll place. Let's go. And I'll be like, are you paying? Why should I pay? Because you have money in that savings account. Don't forget, it's connected to mine. I know what's in there. And right now, your savings account is laughing at my savings account. So let's just have a conversation there.
Oh, it's funny because they then know how to work the system.
Yeah.
It's not like this is going to solve all your problems. It will create new problems because that's exactly what life is. And that's also what makes it interesting. Let's just say that. If I had like no challenges or problems, I would have nothing to share day to day. We wouldn't have a podcast. What would we talk about? Nothing.
Yeah. Trust me, while we do know a lot of things, we do still have our struggles that happen a lot. And like what gets me is that there are certain things that my kids will ask for that it's pushing my buttons.
Mhm.
It will basically trigger my guilt reaction.
Mhm. And they know how to do it too.
Yes.
I know how to do it to me as well.
Yes. And in my case, like it's normally my daughter. And I don't think, again, like it's the manipulation factor, but it is a little bit of like knowing how to talk to people. Because I have taught my daughter plenty that when she wants something, like she wants a ride somewhere. I can't take her. I'll go ask your brother. And she'll be like, I don't want to ask him. He'll say no. Well, you got to learn how to give and take here. Like you can't just come to him and demand a car ride and not give him anything back for that. You got to figure out what he wants and then, offer that, like whatever that is. So a lot of times, like if she wants a ride to go get a drink and I'm like, no, I don't feel like leaving the house. It's not happening. She'll be like, listen, dude, if you give me a ride, I will buy you a drink. And my son will be like, done. Because I don't got to spend my money. I'm there.
Exactly.
So, right. So like sometimes she'll ask for things and she'll be like, Mom, I'm so bored. I don't want to sit around the house anymore. Come on. I know you're bored. Let's go somewhere. Let's go get lunch. Let's go do whatever. Yeah, but I'm bankrolling it.
Yeah. It's kind of like that gray situation.
Yeah.
Where they are learning to negotiate. They just tend to not know how to do it very successfully yet. And so it could look like manipulation from the outset. They do get more sophisticated with their negotiation as they age, I've noticed. But some of it is like really like deep-seated manipulation. And when it comes to teenagers, like I will call my daughter on that deep-seated manipulation. And usually she doesn't intend it. Like she doesn't intend to do it.
Let's give an example.
So it's like, well, mom, like you don't want me sitting around all day. Like you want me to be active and go outside, and you spent all of this time with my brother. Like, why didn't you come out with me?
Oh,
Like, and using like that kind of guilt.
Ugh. Yeah.
And it's at those times I'm like, I call her on it. I'm like, hey, you right there are using guilt to get me to do something that you want to do. And that's not okay. And she'll take that in, and she'll, of course, be really upset and offended that I would even consider that she was doing that intentionally. It's a learning moment. And then she'll come back and she won't use that strategy again. So
Yeah.
when you do see your kids manipulating you, I think it's important to know a lot of the times they don't intend to do that. Like they don't know exactly what they're doing. And they really have to be informed that, hey, this is not how to get what you want, because the other person is going to feel used.
Yes. Yes. What? Okay. So like another example of that I just came up with, and this will be my last example, I swear, on this one. But my daughter, like we have told her repeatedly that when she goes to work, she needs to take food with her because she works at a gelato shop. So they don't have like a microwave, or they don't have actual food. And, you know, a person can't sustain an 8-hour shift of just gelato. I mean, you could try, but it probably wouldn't be so great.
It's not going to work out well.
Doesn't work out well. So she tends to get hungry when she's there. And she would tend to text me and be like, Mom, I'm so hungry. I don't have any money though. Will you DoorDash me some food? Will you bring me some Wendy's? Will you bring me some food?
And of course you don't want her to starve.
No,
so
I
of course
don't
you
want
feel
her
like
to
horrible
starve.
if she's starving.
But she would do this even on the weeks she was with her dad. And I would have to say to her, like, I'd be like, why didn't you deal with your dad with this before you left for work? Oh, you know, Dad, he won't give me anything. He just starves us. And I'm like, I find that hard to believe. And she'll be like, well, you know, there was nothing good there.
There you go.
That's a whole other podcast episode we've talked about. With the
That's
whole,
a whole.
like, there's nothing
There's
to
nothing
eat
good.
factor.
There's
Yeah,
nothing to eat. There's
nothing to
good
eat, and
to
nothing
eat.
that I want to eat are two completely different arguments here. But I digress. So, I mean, it's had to get to the point where, like, I had to tell her, when you text me that you're hungry, it makes me feel guilty, like I'm not being a good mom, and that I am making you starve, even though we had food at the house. You know you're expected to pack yourself food when you go in for an 8-hour shift at work. Like, you know those are the expectations.
We've had that conversation multiple times.
And she'll come back and she'll be like, I wasn't trying to make you feel bad. I was just bored and I was just joking. And I'll be like, well, I'm letting you know that hurts my feelings, and I'm not going to be answering those texts going forward.
That's a great boundary.
Right? So like I had to finally identify it, because I just would get triggered, and then I would feel like I had to compensate, whether or not she was with me or her dad at the time. And I would compensate, and it was ridiculous. And I would be so resentful towards her for it. Sometimes I knew I was resentful. Sometimes I didn't know I was resentful. I just knew that I was mad. And I think that that's an important thing. Like, notice that you're getting triggered, and then articulate, like you just said to your daughter, like, I feel guilty when you say that to me. And that's not cool.
That's not cool. Yeah. It's a lesson in human behavior and how you're not in control of other people's emotions. You're not responsible for them, but know that certain words might trigger. And if you want to avoid that trigger, you might want to choose your words more carefully.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just want to trigger them. So it's good to know the power that you have in your words.
And that none of us are perfect. So if it happens, it happens. We have a whole other podcast episode we're going to do on what to do when it happens. But
so I hope you're taking away from this episode a really easy thing that you can put in place to help you when your kids are asking you for all the things and you just don't know what to say. And we're going to put a link to our balance community right under this podcast as well. And until next time, remember, the best mom's a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll talk to you later.
thanks for stopping by.
Are you a parent in need of a laugh and a little escape? Look no further. Parenting is a Joke is the podcast you've been waiting for. Hey, I'm Ophira Eisenberg. I'm a stand-up comic and parent. And each week I chat with one of my top comedian pals who, just like you, are juggling careers, busy lives and schedules, and raising a family. You can expect candid stories, hilarious mishaps that happen on stage and at home, and just a lot of laughs. There's no expert advice here. Well, actually, sometimes a good idea does sneak its way in, but mostly just pure, relatable fun to remind you that we're all in this parenting adventure together. New episodes of Parenting is a Joke drop every Tuesday, so tune in, get ready to laugh, unwind, and maybe even feel a little bit better about your own parenting. Because sometimes that's exactly what your therapist, pediatrician, and bartender ordered. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform.